didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell my family. I was so scared that people would think that I was using drugs or running around with a bunch of different men, but none of that was true.
Ironically, my biggest fear wasn't about dying, it was that I wouldn't be able to marry, or I wouldn't have a family, or then wouldn't have a, intimate relationship,
It was 1989, so AIDS was not something that was really talked about in Santa Fe, New Mexico very often.
The idea of your family disowning you, the perceived risk of never being touchable in a sensual way again, the idea of not being accepted for the way you express your intimate activities.
There's so much stigma around HIV that and I've always liked taking care of the underdogs, and so taking care of people with HIV and AIDS has been, that's really meant a lot to me.
Well, I was 13 when I was diagnosed, and was a result of an abusive relationship. Actually, it was a sexually abusive relationship in my home, so it was incest.
When I first got diagnosed, it was a brutal time.
I was really scared. I was scared to death.
Yeah, I was shocked, I was stunned, I was numb, I was mortified. I was just completely blown away.
When he came home and said, "I'm HIV, Mom," I was devastated. I was mad.
Lately, for the past couple of years, actually, we've been seeing people coming in with full-blown AIDS to the emergency room, or being hospitalized and not being diagnosed until they've actually been in the hospital for a while and sick and they can't figure it out, and then finally an HIV test is done.
Well, certainly here in New Mexico, we have people who present at all different stages. But unfortunately, 60% of people in New Mexico, when they present with an HIV diagnosis, actually already have AIDS. 60%, that's actually higher than the national average. What that means is people aren't getting tested.
I wouldn't have gotten tested for HIV if I hadn't have gotten sick. I didn't know anything about AIDS or HIV. The doctor decided it'd be a good idea to have an HIV test, and it came back positive.
When I got diagnosed, my first thought was, oh my God, all those times I shot up, that I didn't think about it. I didn't give it one solitary thought.
I had some lung problems initially, and I went to the emergency room, and initially they thought it was H1N1 because it was pretty rampant at that time, and eventual results were that I was HIV positive.
I went to the hospital because I couldn't stop coughing and I had really bad chest pains.
It was an accident that I found out. I went in to the doctor because I had an ear infection that had gotten really bad. It turns out I had a perforated eardrum. And while I was in the doctor's office, they did a bunch of tests, including an HIV test.
We have a campaign to increase the number of people who are tested for HIV in the state of New Mexico. Es Mejor Saber. It's better to know, and it really is better to know. It's not just a slogan. It really is better to know whether you're HIV positive or not. Because if you are and can get into treatment early, your chances of a normal lifespan, this being just something you have to take care of, but you can move on with your life, are so much better.
I think it is so important if you have any inclination that you could be HIV positive that you're tested immediately, because I mean, in this day and age, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are, there's so many resources that you could go to.
And even then, Ed was tested pretty early. So I think that's why we have been so fortunate that he hasn't gotten sick.
We can teach people a lot about HIV. There's a lot of myths out there about what it is and what it isn't and what the treatments are. And People hear about the AIDS cocktail and they think it's like 16 or 20 pills 5 or 6 times a day, and it's not.
We now have very good treatments for HIV, as little as 1 pill once a day, well tolerated, the disease is easily managed.
My knowledge about Southwest Cares and their testing program is that it's anonymous, it's free. If you should come back positive, there's incredible care, there's incredible safety net that they've created there, Dr. Hawkins and his team. So anything that would come up is A to Z is going to be, there's going to be assistance for that.
Now that I'm a mom with my own child, my view on testing is a little different. I think it's definitely, my experience has been that it is a lot easier now. Southwest Care Center does rapid testing.
At Southwest Care Center, we offer this rapid HIV test where you can get the results in 10 minutes, and it's really fantastic. All it takes is a finger stick, just like checking a blood sugar, and then the blood's collected in a little tube, and then the test is performed with results in 10 minutes. If we get more people tested and treated, then we think that we can actually decrease the transmission rate of HIV. And that's a really important thing.
We believe in our profession that actually everybody should get tested. It should be every time you go to the doctor and get a blood test, a routine screen, we would like everybody to get an HIV test.
And testing, I think, a lot too is not just finding out that you're HIV positive or HIV negative, it's also an opportunity to check in with your behavior. And what have you done that's risky? How do you treat yourself? Are you taking care of yourself when you're participating in whatever activities it may be? That's been one of the benefits, dare I say that, of finding out I'm positive, because you get to check in with yourself, you get to find out what's important.
And I do encourage, people to be tested. When you do know your status, things can only get better.
I am very, very proud of everything my mom has done to educate people and to help people know that if this happens to you, it's okay, and there's things that you can do. And I'm just really lucky, I guess, to have somebody to be so open with their life in order to benefit other people.
I don't care what kind of a disease it is, you should be there for them. There's no exception.
I've always made the remark that when I first held my son for the first time, when he was born, I pledged unconditional love. I didn't say I will only love you if.
Can you dig it, people? I'm married. It's unbelievable. 17 years later. And I'm healthy. I never get sick. I really don't. People get colds all the time, and I'm very humble. I'm very grateful, and I'm so happy to be healthy, and my life is great. So it's not the end of the world.
We know how to suppress virus. We know how to treat the disease. We can do it with 1 single pill a day. We can completely suppress HIV in the blood.
Es mejor saber.
Es mejor saber.
Es mejor saber.
Es mejor saber. It's better to know, and it really is better to know. It's not just a slogan. It really is better to know whether you're HIV positive or not.